Welcome to Wellness with John. I'm John Peters, and these are resources to help you thrive. This is part 7 of a 7-part series I'm doing on acceptance and commitment therapy. So if you haven't watched the previous episodes in this series, I'll put a link up here now, and you can go back and start with episode 1. But in this final episode, I'm going to talk about what commitment means in the context of acceptance and commitment therapy. Stay tuned. Okay, so welcome to the final episode in this 7-part series on acceptance and commitment therapy. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about what commitment means because it's right there in the title. Therefore, it must be central to the process. And I do believe that commitment does mean something special in acceptance and commitment therapy. And before I want to talk about what that is, I want to say that commitment actually is a normal part of how therapy helps patients. Because even though we therapists aren't going to be commanding and manipulative and directive and patronizing and saying to our clients and patients, you should do this, you should not do that, at least hopefully we aren't, right? But people feel supportively held accountable in the therapy process. Because if I have a patient, let's say, who is saying, I'm going to implement some 10 minutes of walking in my daily wellness plan, and they say this to me in a session, and then they're kind of on the hook then the next time we talk because they mention it as part of how they're going to craft their wellness plan. So they may spontaneously bring it up next time we talk and say, yeah, John, I did my walking, or I did some of it, or no, I didn't do it, right? So when we speak out loud to another person, whether it's our friend or a roommate or a family member or our partner, our therapist, we create a level of accountability to speaking those words, right? Words mean something. Hopefully, hopefully we are speaking with integrity and intention, right? So therapy in general supports healthy commitment because therapy is often helping people not only do work within the sessions, but craft personal goals because people are typically coming to therapy for changes that they want outside of therapy, right? You don't just want to go to therapy to experience the therapy generally, right? You want to go to therapy as an instrumental process to support desirable changes in your life outside of the therapy sessions, right? So within the therapy, you're crafting changes and goals to which you then commit in whatever ways you commit to them. So therapy ends up being a mechanism for healthy accountability to your actions that you're going to take toward the desired goals that you have for yourself. In the context of ACT, as I've discussed in the previous episodes, the elements of ACT all work together. And so one element makes the others more robust. And we have talked in this series about how ACT includes the element of cognitive diffusion, right? As well as mindfulness practices, both of which support the mode of acceptance and the capacity to be in the mode of acceptance. And that also, in part, allows people to explore the self and to explore their values. And so if you think about what I said a minute ago about commitment, one question is, to what are we committing? How valid is the thing that we're committing to, right? And so you could think about commitment as either being richer and deeper or more superficial. And the richer it is and the deeper it is, then the more valuable that commitment is going to be, and the more appropriate that commitment is going to be for desirable personal goals. And so what I mean by that is, if someone says, I want to come up with a plan and then I'm going to commit to the plan, and even if the plan is relatively feasible, if the plan is based on a limited amount of working out the relationship to whatever the desired change is, then that plan is going to be relatively superficial. But if someone, through the process of ACT, is working out a more rich, deep kind of relationship with the self and whatever it is that they want to change, then that commitment is going to be much more valuable, because the thing that you're committing to has lasered into the core. It's getting to the thing around which other things turn, right? So when people come to therapy for anxiety issues, for mood issues, for mood regulation issues, for coping with life changes and stress, and coping with interpersonal stress, like with partners and coworkers and whatnot, when people use ACT and all these elements that we've discussed in this series, at the point where they're defining specific actions that they're going to take to produce desirable outcomes, then that commitment is going to be much more valuable. Okay? So the other elements we've talked about in ACT support the valid and deeper, richer, feasible kinds of elements that people then craft as part of the personal goals, to which they end up potentially committing in the process, through the process. So that's one way to think about it, is that if we throw out all the other elements of ACT and we just say therapy is partly about commitment, that's fine. But if the things to which we are going to commit, we want to be very enlivening, very deeply enlivening, then those other elements of ACT that we talked about are going to get you to the point where you have really gotten to some gold there, in terms of digging into, what do I really want to understand? What am I really working with? And how can I know myself and my values, both my general values and my goals, so that when I craft my actions that relate to supporting the outcomes that I want, I can commit in a good way. So I hope that you have enjoyed this 7-part series that I've done on acceptance and commitment therapy. And I'm going to make some future series videos on this channel, unpacking and diving, a little more deeply than single episodes do on different topics. Feel free to subscribe if you want to keep apprised of those releases, because I release multiple videos every week typically. If you like this kind of content, be sure to hit the like button. I enjoy comments on the videos because it helps me understand how they're landing on people and what people are thinking about and what people want. And it helps me craft what I create for the content in the channel. And if you have a friend who you think might benefit from one of the videos, feel very free to share, or share on your social media as well. Now, one last thing I want to say before I leave the video is that if you'd like to get a free ebook to help you lower your stress and anxiety, and it's written in the mode of ACT, although it doesn't get into all the details of ACT like this series has done, go to courses.johnpeters.online/free stress ebook, and I'll put the link in the description below. Thanks for joining me for this series, and I will see you in an upcoming video.